Once again, before I go home, I want to ask you a few questions. I want to give you food for thought, for that matter. I'm going to give you the type of consumer adopters. Then maybe tomorrow you can tell me where you belong. Number one, we have innovators. Who are innovators? Like now, since I came up with this idea of Quest Pinnacle Investment Ventures Limited, I can tell you who innovators are. Innovators are people who are risk takers. They are the first consumers to any idea that comes along. So, are you an innovator? You get to see, and of course, praise yourself where you belong. So, we have innovators, and innovators basically are risk takers, and there are people who first use the product brought on board. And more often than not, these are people who have high appetite for risk, and those people who have got high appetite for risk, they're the ones who make it in life. Then we have early adopters. And early adopters, basically, they are 13.5% of the purchasing population. 13.5%. Are you part of the 13.5%? Are you an early adopter? These are the people when the idea has been floated into the market, they're the first ones to go for it. They are actually number two from innovators. And as much as they might be having a small level of skepticism and pessimism, the line is quite minimal, and the distinction between innovators and fast adopters is quite small. We have another group, so the early adopters comprise 13.5%. Then we have another group of people who are called early majority. Early majority are those people who come in droves, who come in large numbers to adopt a new idea. They are called early majority, and they comprise 34% of the entire purchasing population. So are you an early majority? The choice, you know where you belong. And they form 34%. So we started with what we call early adopters being 13.5%. We have now come to what we call early majority at 34%. Then we are now proceeding to what we call late majority. Still they comprise 34%, the same percentage with what we call the early majority. So if you add 68 plus 13.5, for those who are good mathematicians, that is 81.5. Then we have got what we call the laggards, and they're the majority. Those are the people who wait. People came up with the idea of buying plots from a place called Kitengela. They never bought. People bought 50 by 100 at 100,000 shillings or 50,000 shillings. The laggards are coming when a piece of land is going at 1 million shillings. So they are called the laggards, the people who come last. Like, at our Quest Pinnacle Investment Ventures Limited, there are those individuals who will be coming at the tail end. At the end, they'll be the ones coming saying, do you still have a slot in your investment club? They are called laggards, and they form 16%. Let's now see what the percentage that innovators have. One, we have said that early adopters, they form 13.5% of the purchasing population. Then early majority, they form 34% of the purchasing population. Then late majority, 34%, and then the laggards, they form 16%. So 16% plus 34, that makes 50. 50 plus 34, that makes 84. 84 plus 13.5, that makes 87.5%. The innovators are only basically 2.5%. Where are you? Place yourself. Are you an innovator? Are you an early adopter? Are you an early majority? Are you a late majority? Or are you a laggard? Hebu tafakari hayo. Decide. There are people who take so long to make a decision. And I want to leave you with this thinking. For those people who take a bit of trouble to understand how our military officers operate, or how the jet fighters officers operate, a jet fighter has only one pilot. Have you ever taken a bit of time, Mr. Peter Metugo, Mr. William Kaleithi, my former colleague, or Mr. Herman Washila? Have you ever taken a bit of time to ask yourselves a few questions? To ask yourselves a few questions. And the question is, why is it that a jet fighter normally has one pilot? It is purely because of what we call precision and the time that requires for execution of a decision. The moment you start asking people questions, what do you think we need to do? Should we bomb this particular area? As you continually interrogate and ask questions from your colleague, you already hit. So once you make a decision, unleash it, make it, execute it. And the difference between those who succeed and those who fail purely lies on the speed of implementation. How fast are you implementing an idea? How fast are you in adopting an idea? I've given you the 5 categories of consumers. And I'll be spending some more time maybe on a different platform or on a different date, talk about what we call the attributes of people who make it in life. In the interest of time, once again, and having spoken to you for more than 1 hour a few minutes ago, I wish you a good night. Tafakari haya. Are you an innovator, Mr. Metugo? Are you an early adopter? Are you an early majority? Are you a late majority? Are you a laggard? And what disturbs me before I leave is that we take too long to learn. We take too long to learn. We do not, sometimes, you see, even those people who ought to have made progress in their lives, because they don't learn, they have not learned to make decisions. Remember, muscles get power with use. The more you use your minds, your brains, the more you become a better person, Madam Margaret Mungai. Some of us people, I have told you many times, not many people like thinking. Thinking is the most hardest thing in the world. And that is why you see, even when somebody buys a gadget, instead, because they don't want to read, they do not want to spend maybe 10 minutes. This product, remember, it took the manufacturer more than a year to come with this particular product. Now, he's only giving you a 1-page manual, user manual, but you can't even read a one-page manual user manual. You can't. You don't have time to read. You go forcing the gadget because you are so docile, you are so lazy, you don't even have time to take a bit of time to go through, and you end up destroying the gadget that you had bought. We must learn. We must learn to run. We must take time to understand things. I have talked about Quest Pinnacle Investment Ventures Limited on almost 15 now video clips on my YouTube channel, Dr. Paul Kibicho, PhD. I have done research for you, and I have told you that those people who don't plan for their old age, they retire in a very, very miserable manner. Have you taken time to ask yourself, how will you retire? You have been earning a salary for the last 15, 20 years. You have all the pay slips. Those pay slips are useless unless you used them as your parachute during your working time. And you gradually created wealth. And creating wealth is basically a decision, a conscious decision that you make. Come, let us listen together. Let us pool our resources so that we can have a bargaining power. Let me not go into more information. But I thank God for all of you once again. Do have a good night. We connect some other day. May God bless you. Always a pleasure talking to you. Shalom. Shalom.